Good morning. It's today's Antidote. This is the place where you're probably expecting us to make some huge promise about how we're going to change your entire life with this one 15-minute segment. But I don't want to make that promise. I know Tom doesn't. What we want to do is make you start to think. Think about what issues, what challenges you're facing, and how you can better address them, how you can figure something out. Maybe it's something small, maybe it's something big. Maybe it's me turning on my light and getting it the right way or not. Whatever it is, it's figuring out little incremental steps to move towards progress. So this is today's Antidote. I'm Bob Graham. That's Tom Brush. You there, Tom? Tom, did I lose you? Oh boy.
I
I lost you.
think I had the internet.
I think it's you today. It's
Can you see me now?
I can see you now. It's like a virus. Question is, could anyone hear us? That's Tom Brush. I'm Bob Graham. This is today's Antidote. If you're just catching up, we've been talking about innovation all week. And we want to talk about innovation from a very different perspective. I think most of the time people want to talk about innovation as these huge leaps. We talked about SpaceX, which spurred us to have this discussion this week. But there are innovations that we make just in normal life that really make a difference for the people we serve. Tom, you were telling me an example from your career a little while ago, and it perfectly typifies what we're trying to say. Yes, typifies. Like that word?
Very nice. Good
Thank
start on a Thursday morning. Yeah, so I was just saying it was interesting. I was fairly new in my career, and I was working at Hamilton College, and we were fortunate. Somebody had made a large donation so that we could bring what they called a great name to campus to speak, and that it was going to be different than just your everyday lecturer. And our first speaker was going to be Colin Powell. And he had it was at the Times. That's how long ago it was. He had just announced that he wasn't going to run for president.
Wow.
He had been considered, and so it was hot in the news at that time. And so we knew there was going to be a big crowd, and we wanted to invite the community to participate. And this was a small little town in the middle of nowhere.
No comment.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. And so I was a part of a group of people who were sitting down talking about, like, how are we going to make this work? How are we going to get 5,000 people, 1,000 of which were going to be students in school buses coming from local campuses or local schools? How are we going to get them onto this small campus that doesn't have parking for 5,000 people and allow people to get around? And the conversation was going around, and people were like, well, we'll just let them park wherever. It'll be okay. It's just for a little while, or just like we do with homecoming or reunions. And finally, somehow, I don't know, in my mid-20s self, said, well, when I go to a sporting event, they don't just say, a large sporting event, they don't just say, hey, go park wherever you want to park. They say our parking lots are here, here, and here, and park there, and then you can either walk or get shuttled to the event. So I said, well, what if we secured some parking lots, got some shuttle buses, and told people, not just let them do what they wanted, but told them, this is where you go, this is how you do it, and everything, it'll be work out. And they're like, okay, great, you're in charge. Well, I learned early what happens when you open your mouth with an innovative idea.
Oh my.
And so the result, as it was, we had 5,000 people on campus. We figured out how to run the shuttle buses. In 15 minutes, the auditorium was emptied. And in a half an hour, the parking lots were clear. And people were like, oh, I can't believe that happened that quickly. Even I was like, when people were coming out, this is going to be chaos. Nobody's going to be able to find. It's dark. They're not going to be able to find their bus. And it just kind of worked. And so I think that one of the benefits of that was it got them thinking differently about how they do events in the future, and not just allowing people because, it's a campus and we want people to feel good, park wherever you want to park.
Well, it's in the middle of nowhere, so who cares normally, right?
Normally, who cares? Yet those occasions and the bigger events are either parents' weekend, family weekend, or reunions. So like nobody's getting ticketed, nobody's getting towed.
It's upstate New York, so there's 3 feet of snow on the ground anyway. So you just bring your plow and plow a spot, right?
No, easy.
You're not denying it, though.
Upstate New York. Tread lightly.
I held back as long as I could.
I appreciate it. So I just think that it was intriguing because you had a group of people. Many of the people sitting around that table had been with the organization for a long time. And I think they had very easily got in the habit of this is what we always do. And, what I think it allowed us to do was create some other partnerships around the community because we were like, look, it's easy to get up. Here's an opportunity for you to come. We're going to make it simple. Park nearby. Don't deal with traffic and crowds, and we'll get you there.
But so I think what you brought to the table was a fresh perspective. And I think that's one of the things that really plays an important role in growth for a company, an organization, or an individual. When we can look at things more broadly, and in your case, it sounds like you took into account how others do it, other similar situations, and you saw what could be, not what was.
Yeah, and I think
that's what innovations comes from, right?
Absolutely. And it comes from a little bit of, I don't want to say courage. Courage seems like a big word, but again, I was a younger person who was making a statement in a room that I'm sure people looked at me like, what does he know? He's been on the job for 2 or 3 years. We've been around forever. We have this is the strategy. And my experiences might have been a little bit different. And I was then willing to share from those experiences that got people to say, that's a unique perspective. Maybe this might make sense.
The other thing that happened that you probably may not be focused on right now is that they're willing to take the chance. Here's this young guy saying, hey, I got this idea. And whoever the powers that be said, let's give it a shot. And so often I see with organizations and individuals, they don't take the shot. The great idea gets brought to the table and rejected outright because it's different. It's crazy. We've never done it that way. We how dare you even consider something new? It'll never work. I mean, not because it won't work, but because change scares people.
Absolutely. Change scares people. I think that's because it's unknown, and it goes up. And then change gets into like, what's the risk? What's the reward? What are the challenges we might face? What are the new problems that are going to arise? I mean, all of those things will bubble up as we start to think about doing something a little bit different. And I think what it also does sometimes is it allows people to take it one step further. So once you've opened up the door to say, hey, here's maybe a new way to do it, and they're like, okay, let's work on that. Then they can then put their experience. Like what was great was others were able to share different ideas within that to make it that much better. Because once I shared, well, here's this option to think about, we're like, oh, well, we could also then do this and this and this, and this is how we could make that work. And here are some, like I didn't know the area that well. I knew a couple of spots, but they said, well, why don't we use this spot or this spot? And I know this connection, so I'll reach out to them. And I think that willingness to consider an innovative idea can then spark others to provide their experience to enhance that innovation. And you bring in others who have a different expertise that can just make your initial innovative idea, which I didn't have all the things laid out or thoughts or how this is going to work, but others were able to provide some of that so that it made it an even more effective way to operate.
And that's what we see with organizations all the time. One person starts to innovate, suggest a change or an improvement, and then other people jump in. And before you know it, you're moving down the road towards real success. And that's the thing that we tend not to have in organizations that are stagnant. They're not even allowing the ideas to bubble up. And I think that's one of the big reasons. You can see the research when people say they want to be valued in a job. Part of being valued is being able to express ideas and thoughts. and at least have them heard. That's one of the things. I was talking to someone yesterday, and they were saying to me, no one, it's an organization I've been involved with, and they were saying, I've never been heard. And it's like, why not? But just, I get dismissed. I'm like, okay, we're going to work on that. And I think some of it's the way the person addresses things as an individual. They don't come in with the best approach to it. They pick poor timing. But the other side of it is the organization is not saying, hey, who's got an idea? I mean, it's amazing. You know, the old suggestion box idea, throw your suggestions in the box. No one cares. But around a table, a virtual conference room, you could have a discussion. It's like, okay, we've got a couple minutes left before our staff meeting's over. Who's got some things they've been thinking about that we might consider? That simple suggestion, not saying you have to have a fully fleshed out idea. It's got to be perfect and you're going to stake your career on it. But just, who's got an idea? Well, I've got an idea. What if we went to a 4-day work week and rotated Fridays so that people could have a long weekend? Oh, we've never done that. I didn't say that. What would happen? What if? How could we? And I think one of the things you and I bring into an organization is an openness to at least explore ideas. And I can't tell you how many times someone says to me, when I come up with some great idea, the consultant, someone always pulls you aside and goes, yeah, I've been thinking about that for like 3 years. Yeah, I brought that up. Check the minutes. I brought that up 5 years ago. No one did anything with it. It's like, well, the joy of being the consultant is you're the expert, so you can bring up things that no one else will and at least get a hearing.
Right. Well, I think one of the things you shared in there was, you didn't really say it, but you talked about it in your story, was that person sharing that information. It's a lot about what is the reaction of the leader of that group. You know, if you share an idea and immediately somebody dismisses it, well, yeah, they're going to feel like they're not heard. And I think the challenge is that as leaders, you need to hear those things and figure out how are you going to show that person that you have considered it. You know, because at some point there are ideas that are thrown out that just aren't going to work for one reason or another. And you can, you know, and if we can't always do everything that our people in our organization suggest. And so how do we make sure that those people still feel like they are heard, even though we can't implement this idea? And I think that becomes the challenging dynamic of not reacting when somebody offers a new idea, either really positively or really negatively, because you could think it's a great idea and you go back and your CFO is like, we don't have any money to do that. How are we going to do that? Right. You know, or in your example about working Fridays, like, yeah, we don't have enough staff to make that work. Like, it's just not going to, and you can try to figure it out. So I think it's that interesting balance of how do you allow innovation to be suggested, and then how do you make sure that those people feel like they have been heard, even if you can't act on it.
I'll give you an example of being heard. Organization I've been working with, one of their newer growing leaders, they had an idea come up at a meeting, and the person sent the person who gave the idea a text that said, keep bringing all your ideas to the table. They all probably won't get, endorsed, but the good ones will. And that's part of the process. But I want to hear every idea you have. And that's, I think one of the things people get trapped in is, I gave this idea and they didn't do it. I think what you know and I know is so many ideas have to go through the mill to get to that place. And also when you bring it to a group, usually that group improves it, or they talk you out of it, rightfully so. I rarely feel like, even though I've gone away from meetings and said, yeah, these guys should have taken my idea, I'm so smart. Most of the time when it doesn't go the way I expected, the result is either better or they have canned an idea that should have been canned in retrospect. And I think that's part of innovation too, is not acting on things just in the name of someone threw an idea.
Right. Because not all ideas, while they may be good, are we able to enact them for one reason
Correct.
or another? And I think that's, that's the challenges of offering that, is you want people to feel like they can share what they want to share. Just how do you then make sure that they understand that you looked at it, contemplated it? I guess one of the things is if you can go back to them and share why, your idea was really great, but here's the challenges we're facing as we try to implement. Do you have any other thoughts about how we may be able to work around that challenge?
Right. And there are operational issues. You can't just go into a multi-million-dollar company on Tuesday in June and say, hey, I need $3 million to start this new idea. There's a budget cycle. There's economic issues. There's staffing issues. There can be labor issues. There can be, one group I worked with, there were union issues. Those things, you got to spin through a whole lot to get where you want to go. And any of those can stop even the best idea. That's why, when we talk about SpaceX, you asked me how long they've been working on it. They've been working on that for years. The culmination was Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon, but the work began years ago with the politics, with the budgeting, right, with the innovation, with hiring the right people. It's more complicated than most people think about, but you can still be innovative today. You can do something innovative today with no budget item whatsoever. You could do something innovative by just listening to people more, by focusing more on what people are looking for, not what you're providing them, but what they need. So that's my antidote for today. How's that? Look at that.
Very good. You weaved your way into that nicely.
How about you, Tom? What do you got?
Mine is to encourage innovative ideas because I think they spark other ones. I think when again, not one is going to be perfect or right for your organization, and it will spark others to maybe change it, pivot it a little bit, improve it. If we don't ever allow people to share those innovative ideas, it will never spark the ones that are really going to make a huge difference in our organization. And so I think allow that innovation to come out and then see how it can be implemented, improved, or modified to really make a difference for yourself or your organization.
Great. Well, let me do a little pitch for you. 2 pitches, actually, real quick. One pitch is join our Facebook group, The Ring of Renegades. It's a private Facebook group where we're having all kinds of knowledge and insight being shared by really great people. It's growing every day. The other pitch I want to make for you is we are creating a group of action-minded, action-focused leaders called Renegade Wayfinders. They're going to be people that find the way. We have this open right now. You can go to renegadewayfinders.com to find out more about that. If you have questions about either of those, Tom and I would love to talk to you, as well as if you want to talk about innovation. We don't say this enough, Tom, but we'd be happy to talk to someone. If they're stuck, if they're having a challenge, we'd be happy to talk to you. You can private message us. You can message us wherever you see this. You can find us. We're pretty available to you. So with that, Tom, until tomorrow, I think it's time to say goodbye.
I would agree, Bob. I hope that everybody has a great day, and we will see you again tomorrow morning.
Great.